Here's what I found on the web for how do I get Dat Stank.
No, but what I want to know is the problem. So that's capitalism. If you have money, you can make money more easily. You can trick the system. You can do things that straddle the line of ethics. That's just capitalism. That's money. That's what money does. That's going to affect like everyone in every single aspect of your life. It's going to affect the music industry. The thing is, though, why would you worry about it? It's nothing. It's not. It's like just make your art. And this is the way I feel. Maybe it's not right, but make your art. If it is really good, it will be undeniable. And you might not get the success that someone else that maybe they aren't as talented got, but they're still going to be.
No, 100%.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Not at all.
But it sucks.
I don't know. I don't even think about it, though.
I'll still make my art. It'll be good.
Yeah, I don't even think about it, though.
It's not the concern like with it as it with its existence. It's just that it's the sphere of influence as far as like what is, like hot, right? Like that comes from building like the hype and influence
like taste maker type of thing, like
yeah, and just and like look, like we were just talking about it, stuff that is popular is good whether it's appealing to you or not. It's still like popular because it's hitting certain marks, right? Like it's. I'm not trying to shit on stuff that like, I'm not saying that, because of the way things are, like all the stuff at the top sucks.
Yeah, that would be dumb.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's things that don't get the platform space that other things get because...
Yeah, for sure.
Because people control the sort of...
That does suck.
Yeah,
that sucks
absolutely.
In life.
And we are dumb little babies who get told what to like.
Yeah.
That's true.
I was telling Chris, we had a conversation about the hive mind, and that's a legitimate thing on the internet. You can kind of figure out what's going to do well, what's going to go viral because of this hive mind that's everyone has a similar homogenated... Did I say that right?
Homogenous.
Way of thinking that so you can kind of predict these things, and that's businesses and are going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and so the Dave perspective is that is the way it is. Why think about it?
Yeah.
Why argue with it? And that's fine. That's a good perspective, especially if you're trying to not go fucking insane.
I thought you were going to say unless you're trying to not go far at all.
No, that will probably get you a long way.
I was like, damn.
No, that'll probably get you a long way. But, some people can't help but think about those things, and that's okay too. But don't let it affect your creative output.
It seemed like Chris was really distraught about it, which is why I'm like, why? Like, I'm trying to figure out. Like, I'm asking
Chris,
why.
Get your
why?
Emotions in
why?
check.
No, but he was. He's freaking out. He's like, Dave. No, but seriously.
I think that the thing that is unfortunate is that it kind of, especially for people people at all stages of like being creative and working on their music, right? Like, but especially it just makes it a longer road to figuring out what you're really about, right? Or what you should be about, I think, for me.
Why?
Because it's like you want to hit marks and you want to have like something to reference, right? But you don't. I kind of like if you're trying to create and be in the moment, which is what it's all about. As like corny as that's like kind of become to say, but it's fucking annoying to just be like,
well, okay, but would you feel as good when you're like really nailing a reference 100%? You would feel great if you were like trying to hit a mark and you were hitting it, right? Like say you were doing
like he was
sync music,
listening
for pitch,
to a
right?
reference track, and he wanted to make one exactly like that.
And if you were smashing it, like you would feel great. You would feel like the man. But would you feel as good as if you were doing something like that you really loved and was really inspiring you?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So why not just follow that feeling?
There we go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the answer. Your problem is the results. You want to be successful, and you know that the marketing aspect is such a big marketing, networking. All those are such a big aspect. A big factor into success that's what's bothering you. You're like, I want to be an artist. I want to make my art. I want to do my thing. But that's not just doing that isn't the best way to get successful, isn't the best way to get the results of being really popular. And so I think that's what you're struggling with ultimately. But you have to figure out, what is your goal? Is your goal to be that famous or that popular and that successful and make music that you might not be completely happy with, or is your goal to make music that you're happy with?
Also,
Let me just clarify. I'm not,
John's got something.
I'm not struggling with anything. All right.
no, of course. Never. But to interject,
you're fine.
To interject on, the Dave point.
What was that?
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, that was Chris's fault.
And
Chris had to interject a bad joke in there.
It wasn't a joke.
John was so ready. He had his hand up, he's like, I got this shit.
Hey.
I'm about to fucking
Look,
drop some shit on you guys.
What did you just say, Dave? Can we run it back?
I'm not even gonna fucking remember what that is, dude. Seriously, I was on a date 3 days ago, and I think I lost my train of thought literally 6 times.
It's the worst.
Oh my god! And I get so
that nicotine gum.
I get so awkward too when I'm like, I don't know what I was gonna say. Oh, it's the worst.
Sorry.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Success. Oh, so the art is what it is. You're worried about making art that you want to make, but also, okay, do I start making decisions that will get me more successful, even though they're not exactly the decisions that I 100% believe in?
Okay, so
there you go.
Here's the interjection. Maybe you're more likely to be successful if you really actually do follow
That's
the
a very
inside.
good point.
Because, we're all 101 here. And also, it remains to be seen, right? You haven't put out the solo record yet. Maybe the listener hasn't put out the solo record yet. Who the fuck knows?
Ultimately, you don't know. No one knows.
If you're going to fucking do the shit and it's for fun right now, maybe it's a hobby or something.
You have to decide what you want. Are you doing it for fun? Are you doing it to be successful? Are you doing it to make money?
Yeah.
You have to decide that.
But also maybe those things can sort of contain multitudes a little bit, and the best way to become successful, I might posit, is just by following the internal voice and following your highest joy and following your own muse. You got to be a little realistic and know whether the shit you're making and putting out fits into any cultural context that is relevant. That's on you to know.
For sure.
Right? But once you get to a certain level of competency and confidence in what you're doing, you innately know that. You know whether you're hitting the mark or not. Do what feels good. Do what
I think
you
Billie
want to
Eilish
hear.
is a great example of that, because that's not something
Absolutely.
that you would hear on a pop radio until it came out, and then everyone ate it up and was like, this is it. And it wasn't a pop structure. It's not something that you would think of as just
It's
normal
very special.
pop.
Yeah.
It's very special.
Yeah.
And everyone got it, and they were doing their own thing, and it's very rare, very hard to do. But when it's there, it's undeniable. Like Billie Eilish, how she's got billion views and she's 3 years into it.
Well, yeah, that we know we've been watching for, but yeah.
I mean, she's been doing music all her life, and that's also something that she's in a musical family. Something that I didn't come from a musical family. I'm always like, they got they got a lot extra, a boost. Being
You're a pioneer over there.
yeah, well, I'm the Silverstein crest.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, I think.
You haven't heard of the Silverstein crest?
Yeah, I've
It's
heard
very,
of the Silverstein crest.
Very epic.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Sorry, John. What were you saying?
No, I'm saying I don't really come from a musical family so much as I came from a household that played music. My dad would play us records.
Fans of music.
Yeah, he liked to play records,
I think
and
that
that's
counts as a musical.
yeah. That's what got me into it.
In
I
a
was
sense, there's two different types, right?
Yeah.
Your dad had a high appreciation for music.
Yeah, but nobody in my house played music.
Right,
Except
right.
I gotta credit my older sister a little bit. Although she didn't play music like me, she liked to sing and learn music.
Was
And
she was in the band too?
She wasn't in a band. She never did anything like that. She was
Like the marching
an
band or something,
actress.
like school band.
She acted in plays,
Plays.
musicals. She sang
Okay.
on stage.
I didn't even know that. Actually.
So her as a young kid seeing her sing on stage, I was like, all right, word, that looks like something I want to fucking try doing. You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
So that was cool.
And then it definitely helps is when you have a sibling or somebody that's does it. You see them do it, and you're like, oh, maybe I could do that, and that gives you confidence. I think for me, when I'm not doing it at no one to look up to, I had to blaze my own trails.
Yeah, that's tough.
Very admirable.
Yeah.
But back to what Chris was saying with ours. I mean, do you feel better about this now, Chris? Like how are you?
We
gonna,
need resolution.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
gotta be
How
a
are you?
narrative
Yeah, how are
arc
you going to
here.
handle this? Because like
I feel like I can.
Are you going to do your art, or are you
forward.
going to start like? Are you going to pop out what you think people want to hear? What are you doing?
You know-
are you going to do a halfway?
How
It's-
many
it's
trap
interesting.
beats are you going to make next week?
Because I have no problem. I
12,000.
love.
What were you gonna say?
I love like making something that sounds exactly like the reference. Obviously,
for
I'm gonna
sure.
branch off from that eventually, but right now I'm at a point where I want to I want to be able to do it.
My biggest thing is just that it feels like always like a reference instead of like an influence.
You can look. I think
That's
you can.
what I feel.
You can
like.
look.
I feel
too
like I've been pretty like. This is just maybe it's just me. Maybe it's you out there listening in your house in your
Radio Land.
pajamas. But I'm getting into like treating it just what I do more so as like a job and not.
Oh
in,
no,
like,
I'm sorry.
a lame
We
sense.
were talking about references.
Yeah, references. Yeah.
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 So no.
Oh.
So your
Yeah,
problem is you get too stuck on making something that sounds exactly like the reference. Is what you were saying.
or like I like am referencing it, but I'm missing things about it because I'm not in love with it in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
My strategy with referencing stuff a lot of the time is like I'll check a reference during a mix to like see where my low end is at,
For sure.
or where my vocal is sitting.
Well, there's two different types of references.
That's a good.
Yeah.
It's
type of
mixing referencing and
Of
production.
course,
referencing.
production.
Yeah.
Okay, let's focus on production.
Yeah.
We're all
Don't switch fucking on us. Jim.
All right,
Don't
all
try
right.
to
No,
do
it's a
that.
good point.
my
It's a
bad.
very good point.
No,
But-
there are two different types.
Okay,
Yeah.
focusing on production references.
Yeah.
I'm more thinking of things as like signifiers. I'm taking little signifiers from multiple genres
Right.
and I'm like sort of mixing it up in my internal blender and spitting out something that feels like authentic
So
to
you're
what
not
I'm doing.
you're not taking a direct. You're not
I'm
taking
taking
the reference.
small elements
Right.
of multiple
So,
references.
Chris, I think I've seen you do it. I'm not sure if you do it all the time, and I'm not going to fucking call you out.
You shut your mouth.
In front of everyone, because I don't want to embarrass you. But no, no. You do references, and I think you try to. The way you do production references is you'll try to make one that sounds exactly like, which I think does have its benefits in a lot of ways too. But it is a lot harder and a lot less rewarding. So I think that's where it might stum you. Am I wrong in saying that you do that
I do it, but like
and telling everyone that you do that?
it's more
Putting you
it's
on
more
blast.
it's less like, oh, I want to copy this exactly, and it's like I just want to copy. Well, yeah, actually, yeah. Sometimes
Sometimes you get a little
do
too-
it, do it exactly, but
Dude, but it'd be dope to sell a beat to like Tory Lanez, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be sick. So like maybe a smart thing to do is to just listen
like
to the
10
Tory
Tory Lanez
Lanez
beats.
album and like, you know, and maybe that's a smart strategy. I don't know, but I think
Is
that,
it working
like,
for you?
Yeah. It's good to feel good about what you're
it
doing.
it has.
Chase the joy, baby.
It definitely has. It feels good sometimes, and sometimes I feel bored with it. And
Well, I think sometimes
I
you get
think it
frustrated though.
fucking frushed.
Sometimes you get, sometimes you get whatever that word is.
Frustrated.
Sometimes you get frustrated.
You can't do it. You couldn't roll the R, dude.
Yeah. I could do a huh sound though. Real well. Yeah. So you do though. Like it gets frustrating. You know what I mean? Fuck. I'm trying. I can't even think of another word to
We'll
use
be right
instead of that. No. Give me another word to use instead of that one.
It's confounding.
No, that one sucks. Dude.
For us.
It gets
It's stifling.
Yeah,
It's like
it's very
for us.
stifling. It's very stifling.
Frustrated.
No, shut up, Chris. It's very stifling. When you don't know how to do something and you stay there and you're working on it, it's not the way you want to do. I'm jumping right back into this freaking conversation because I don't want to lose it. You don't want to get like it gets annoying, you know, and you're just like, oh, son of a bitch.
It is annoying. And why be annoyed when you're trying to do what you like to do?
So right. So I like to take the reference and I'll use the certain elements. I like the rhythm or the beat or some certain parts of the groove, and then I'll just go off with it. Once I get to a certain point, I stop listening to the reference, and it doesn't even mean anything to me. And then my the track might not even come out like the reference, but it's a starting point that I can use to kind of go about that. I never really follow reference like, let me go to A, point A.
Dude, you know what a reference is great for? I will say, especially if you want something to feel good to everyone immediately and you're looking at like for a placement, structure. Like that's the obvious.
For sure.
That's the obvious place to go for
absolutely.
a reference.
Absolutely.
Like,
knowing the transitions.
you almost can't go wrong when you have the right like bar lengths and the right like section breakdown, like following a template like that is a really smart way to go.
Structures and arrangement are also very, very hard for me. So that it definitely helps when you know that like it's an arrangement that's worked and it, and it makes sense. You could see it done. So, you can visualize it. And
back to the point with me earlier, that's it. It is a multi sort of like use of the reference happening and also just like what definitely like the structure, the groove of something that I like or structure of a song that I think is like particularly hot, and just like remaking that and also like remaking that with like the mix and like what elements are like taking up what frequency ranges at what times, and just like kind of just being like, okay, and then like doing that enough to the point where then I can be like, all right, I know what kind of marks I need to hit in order for this type of thing to work, and then kind of getting a little bit more like saucy with like, just what I want to do to it,
Yeah, you just hit on something I like to think about a lot, which is breaking my productions and my mixes into stages. So like, I'll do like a sound design stage or like a stage where I'm just freely like throwing ideas down. And then you have more of a curated creation stage, and then you have more of like an arrangement stage,
So go into more detail on that. I mean, like, so how do you even structure that out? How do you know when when to do what? So you said the first stage is sound design,
feel
right?
based, but yeah, like, so I'll do some quick, like, just chasing a sonic type of feeling. Like I'll just lay stuff down and like really do some exploratory stuff where I'm not thinking too hard about whether anything's a keeper or not.
But do you
like,
just
I'm just trying. Yeah, it's like throw shit at the wall stage, right?
But do you decide to do this like this is a whole session you're doing this, or is this before you start? When are you doing this?
Nah, I'll do it. Well, I do some sound design all the time, so you have little things in the fucking
while you're
tank,
working
right?
In production
like
stuff,
yeah,
obviously.
you've done other sessions where you're preparing a little bit, but honestly, while I'm working, like I like to just give myself the freedom to like catch an inspiration, do some sound design for like an hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Then try to like get a musical idea, like probably a musical idea came in that sound design session. I'm always recording everything. Once the musical idea is there, then you're just trying to like really, make it sonically hit. Then you're trying to arrange it, but you kind of just break it down.
And you said you're
into
separating
pieces.
these into different sessions, completely different sessions, or
not different sessions, just different states of mind in the same session. Like,
and sessions in Time and in Ableton. Like I mean, sessions as in like your studio session, and then also.
Well, yeah, I do a mix in a different set. Like I'll do a bounce down sometimes. Like
for sound design, I mean, usually you print it to audio, no?
Yeah. No, I program a lot of synths from scratch while I'm making tracks.
Okay, so that's what you. All right, gotcha. So
like usually I just have an idea of like a synth sound I want. Like it could be as simple as like an envelope,
right.
But like I know what I'm after.
Right. And so that after you get a sound and come up with some sounds you like, think spark a musical idea, then you can go into making a track. Obviously, you're inspired.
And then it's all
you're
arrangement
motivated.
and like filling in the blanks, right? But like I try to just leave myself time to do each of those things and be in that headspace.
Are you actually setting aside times, or is it just like kind of in your head you have these?
Totally intuitive while I'm making a track.
Yeah.
Like,
so for some people that might be harder, and for someone like me, that's definitely harder to do intuitively. But I think like it might be good to do that, to write that down as like a schedule and be like, I want to do sound design here for this long, and then kind of.
Well, I do something I picked up off Chris is I will run like a stopwatch, like on my phone.
Yeah.
Like I'll run a timer so I can like just see. You know what I mean?
So,
like,
but are you timing yourself for any?
I'll set it to an hour and be like.
just so you know how long you've been working on something? How does that affect it though? Like when the timer goes off, are you like, do you like?
No, if I'm in the
smoke
middle
a
of
joint?
No, if I'm in the middle of something, I'm gonna chase it. Like the timer.
What does it do for you? It's what I'm trying to
It's a
say.
reference point. There's something mental that happens when you're under the gun, and it's subtle, and it might work for some people, it might not work for some people, but like something about it.
Yeah.
It's like knowing that there's this finite amount of time that I've set.
You
for
should
this
get one of
thing.
those sand timers. That would be
Like
so
an
much cooler.
hourglass? Yeah.
Yeah. Do they have ones that make noise that like something drops at the end of it? They probably do, right?
A little.
Maybe there's one that I can like upload my own MP3 and like program my own sound effect.
No,
to
you got to
go
do
off.
the real. Remember, dude, those things were awesome. They'd sit on the desk. And you just like, what? Like, I don't know. I just remember as a kid, you'd find someone like your friend's house, your weird friend's house would have one. No one.
An hourglass?
Yeah.
Yeah, hourglass. But what is a real purpose? What is it?
To keep time, bro.
Why would anyone have them?
I mean,
now?
I guess from an engineering perspective, it was more simple to build. Than
Oh,
a
I'm not
clock.
saying
At some
People
point.
are broke.
I'm going into fucking hourglasses here. Okay, I'm trying to figure out hourglasses. Okay, John, I don't care about your freaking reason anymore. No. No. I actually read something online. There's like they used to do to tell time. They had a candle, and they would get like a candle that burned a certain amount of time, and then they'd put a nail at certain points, and when the candle got down to a certain point, the nail would fall and it'd hit the metal thing that the candle was in, and that's how you'd know what time it was.
So many factors.
That's a real cool story,
Factors
right?
of time. I will
We
say
should
that
probably cut
lately-
that out as
lately-
a bonus episode.
Yeah.
We'll
blooper.
cut that. Yeah, we'll put that as a bonus Patreon.
I will.
conversation. I don't know.
I will add this real quick.
Yeah.
Respecting the timer though is
Oh
big.
yeah, did we finish that conversation?
Well, I'm just saying I've definitely pushed through, and if you're like right there and you know what you want to do, great. But if it's like a little bit more like, yeah, I have this thing in my head, but I know how I'm going to go about it, but it'll be there in 10 minutes, you know?
That's a good point.
Or
yeah.
even just like today, I was practicing guitar and I was like fucking hating it, like for the first like 15 minutes, like my hand hurt and shit, and I was like, oh my god, like fuck. And then I just kept being like, fuck. And then my timer went off, and I set a timer to tell me to take a break, and I did. And I drank some water. And I came back, and I was like, my hand was like warmed up.
So that
and it
timer
didn't hurt, and I could actually play what I was trying to play. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
So that timer
Like,
is so you can
take a break.
So you take a break. For
Well, and
every
also
hour.
just like, okay, I think to bounce more directly off of what John was saying, it's just like when you start something, and it's like, okay, in an hour, if I'm really concentrating, I should be able to achieve like the basic part of like an
hold
idea.
you accountable so you don't get lost. You don't lose track of time.
Well, also just like, all right, I worked on this for an hour. Is this that good? Is it my warm up thing? Is it, you know what I mean? Do I need to go crazy and make this into an arrangement, or is this just like a cool idea that I need to just
is that
save
something you're
and-
reassessing after the hour? You mean
Possibly. I think just like setting the timer and having that realization that a significant amount of time has gone by, or just whatever time in general.
Yeah.
You know, I think it just opens it up, and taking a break can go a long way.
No, I
It's
like. I
5
definitely like that.
minutes,
It's a good little tidbit of
it
little
just
tip.
yeah, even in my, especially as of late, like I used to want to, and still do have to fight the urge of like just sitting there until it's like this thing that I thought it could be, but I'm just like, maybe it's just I need to just like come back. And
Well, yeah, and the synth thing that you were working on that isn't what you want it to be at that moment might inspire a drum groove that causes you to mute that synth and never look back, and like you know what I'm saying? Like that's how you get onto some crazy other shit, and like you're constantly reassessing where you're at, adding, subtracting, whatever, you know? Like anything that gets you on to the next thing
yeah,
can be the
Right.
thing that matters most.
It depends on what your problem is and what you're trying to solve too.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you get too focused on something, or you'll sit there and work and start working on something that doesn't really need you to spend 2 hours on it, but you will. So maybe that buzzer gives you a break and lets you reassess things. Maybe that's the answer to that problem. But I guess it really does depend on what problem you have, because I don't, that's not an issue. That's not really an issue for me, not to say, I mean, I have plenty of other issues, but that's not an issue for me, is to like sit there and like, am I spending too long on something? I don't know. Hasn't really been a big problem for me.
I just think it brings you back to reality a little bit.
No,
Dude, that's never been a problem for ever. Like you ever like, you're like in the early stages of production and you're getting your drum sounds and you're like compressing something for like 15 minutes and then you look at the clock and you're like, I've been compressing this fucking snare for 15 minutes and it doesn't, I could switch this sample 90 million times. Like, let me try and write something.
I think though that's a workflow and a mindset thing more so than a timer would help me. For me personally, and I think everyone is different on what they can do to help them. And if the timer works for you, that's great.
I think the timer is just whatever you want it to be.
But
right?
for me, I think like it's a mindset thing where I have to stop working on anything for more than 5 or 10 minutes. You know, like I don't think anything you should really work on too much unless production is different.
Production and mixing are two different things.
We should really clarify what we're talking about. I think in mixing, I don't want to be working on anything for more than 10 to 15 minutes at one time, because I think it's just that at a certain point you lose complete perspective, and you don't want to ever get to that point. You want to just keep moving so everything kind of stays fresh.
Agree 100%.
10, 15 minutes even is a long time. So
No.
That would be a problem.
I'm saying that's like a thing you fall into when you're not on the right track.
For sure. And production, and I think while I'm making a beat or producing a song or something like that, I think it's easier for me to fall into those for mixing than it is for production, because for production, I feel like I'm always making some kind of progress. Even if I'm redoing a hi-hat pattern 3 or 4 times, you know, I think I'm still making progress and I'm still like learning on what kind of hi-hat pattern I want in that situation. And I don't think spending that much time on that, or too much time, or an hour or 2 hours, is bad.